48 teams to go on my road to predict all 131 teams this college football off season. Continuing with the Sun Belt Conference, we're moving on to the Arkansas State Red Wolves, a team under Butch Jones that had a disappointing year last year. Only 2 wins to show for their efforts in 2021. And this is an Arkansas State team that does lose some of its more productive players from a season ago. However, when you look at this Arkansas State team in 2022, there's a lot of reason to believe that improvements are there to be made for this team this upcoming year. So can the Red Wolves take some steps in the right direction here in 2022, or is it going to be another miserable year like they had last season? What's up, Tailgaters? My name is Tailgate Nathan. Welcome to my channel. I'm predicting all 131 teams this college football offseason, which means I'm doing your favorite team. So hit the subscribe button, ring the bell so you know when that video gets uploaded if it hasn't already. And if you're a fan of the Red Wolves, you guys are going to know a lot more about this team than me. So if you feel like I missed something, you want to add something, anything of the sort, leave it in the comment section down below, and I'll be happy to hear with what you guys have to say. So let's talk about Arkansas State in 2022, my 13th ranked team in the Sun Belt Conference, coming in the 2022 college football season. And this just was an abysmal team last year. They were 2-10, 1-7 in conference. It was not a great year last year for the Arkansas State Red Wolves. And yet, among the 10 teams in the Sun Belt Conference last year, this team had an offense that was in the top half of the league last year in terms of both scoring and yards per game. However, the numbers, not fantastic. We're still in the top half of the conference. 394 yards with around 25 points per game. Now, you do have 4 new teams joining the conference this year, so we'll see how the offense looks. But defensively, yeah, this was the worst defense in the Sun Belt a season ago. 505 yards allowed per game with around 38 points per game allowed there as well. So definitely an Arkansas State team that, this is definitely a team that needs a lot of improvement under Butch Jones, and I think that is no secret whatsoever that this Arkansas State team needs to improve, and they're losing some of their better players there as well. So the majority of the time, starting quarterback was Layne Hatcher. And Layne Hatcher rocked a 58% completion percentage, 2,423 yards, 19 touchdowns, and 13 interceptions for this Arkansas State team. He has since moved on. He's transferring away from the program to another Sun Belt team that we're going to talk about here very soon. Kind of maybe shows you what team I'm talking about. But I'll just go ahead and say he transferred over to Texas State, a former quarterback that was recruited by Nick Saban and company. Yeah, he's off now away from this program. Again, 19 touchdowns, 13 interceptions, not a fantastic ratio there, but you don't necessarily have the most prolific of weapons here, Arkansas State, although they do lose a couple in the running back room. Lincoln Pear, who was the leading receiver a season ago, was gone. Leading rusher, a season ago. 448 yards and a touchdown season ago for him. This was an Arkansas State team that only had 4 rushing touchdowns from last season. 27 of their touchdowns from a season ago offensively were through the air. Kind of tells you where this offense was. You also lose Alan Lamar out of the backfield as well, 231 yards. He also had a touchdown a season ago. When you take a look at the receiving corps, well, their best wide receiver, Corey Rucker, is gone. Had 816 yards and 9 touchdowns a season ago for this Red Wolves team. He was a huge part of that offense. You'll be missing him. Dahu Green is another guy that is leaving as well. 296 yards and 3 touchdowns for him. When you look on the defensive side, lots of defensive talent gone. Joe Ozugwu is gone. Vidal Scott, you lose those guys. Ozugwu had 7.5 sacks a season ago, which I believe was second on the team. Caleb Bonner at linebacker is gone, 63 tackles and 1.5 sacks a season ago. In the defensive back position, your 2 top tacklers from a season ago, Ellery Alexander and Jarius Remanek, are gone. I apologize if I said that name wrong, and I probably did. Anthony Switzer and DeTravian Green, some names that also leave this backfield as well. But overall, when you take a look at the talent coming back, there's some nice pieces to work with. And former Florida State quarterback James Blackman is coming back for this team. Had 1,334 yards, 8 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, was technically the more accurate quarterback by only 0.3 percentage points. Rocked a 59% completion percentage in not as much time that Layne Hatcher got last year. Now, James Blackman, I believe the talent is there. No, he is not a fantastic quarterback, but I believe can be a solid option for this Arkansas State team moving forward. The running back room should be headlined by Johnny Lang, and you also have Jaquez Cross, who is coming in to this team as well. When you go ahead and take a look at the wide receiver position, Tavalence Hunt, who was the second leading receiver last year, 758 yards, 6 touchdowns, so not that far behind Corey Rucker, who moved on to play professional football. So you have Hunt coming back, Jeff Foreman, Adam Jones, some other guys that they're coming back for this team as well as tight end Emmanuel Stevenson. When you look on the defensive line, Kevon Bennett, who had 8 sacks last year, he comes back on the defensive line along with 58 tackles. John Mincy, another guy that is returning there as well. When you look at the linebackers, Malik Straker, Jaden Harris, Charles Willikes, all guys you're going to see coming back at the linebacker position. And then the defensive back grouping, Taylon Doss, Sammy Johnson, Leon Jones, among some other names that you could name there, will be highlighting this team. Sammy Johnson led the team with 3 interceptions a season ago. Leon Jones led the team with 8, or was tied with Raymond Nenk a season ago with 8 passes defended. So still some solid talent coming back for this team. You also return Kenneth Harris there as well, who had 6 pass defended, 2 interceptions a season ago for this team. So there's still talent here, and there's reason to believe that improvement is coming for Butch Jones and Arkansas State in 2022 as we take a look at the schedule. And yeah, there are a lot of tough games here on the schedule, especially non-conference play. You have UMass way down the line in November, but when you look elsewhere, Grambling to kick off the season, probably shouldn't be a hard game there, much the same with the game against UMass, but then 2 tough ones there. I mean, on the road against Ohio State, they're returning a lot, a Heisman favorite in pretty much every position grouping, quarterback, running back, and wide receiver. I mean, they could have the 3 best skill players there in those positions this season with C.J. Stroud, Travion Henderson, Jackson Smith, and Jigba, and figured to be one of the best teams in the country coming into this next year. Arkansas State probably doesn't have a shot to win there. And then on the road against Memphis, that's a hard game. That's a Memphis team that I think is going to be pretty solid. When you look in conference play, you got road games against Old Dominion, a new team to the Sun Belt Conference, Southern Miss, another new team to the Sun Belt Conference, Louisiana and Texas State, who are both familiar faces. And you got home games against Louisiana Monroe, James Madison, another new face, South Alabama, and Troy are your home games in conference play. So let's take a look at this Arkansas State schedule moving forward. Again, this is an Arkansas State schedule that I do expect some improvement from this year. I mean, with James Blackman there, I feel like if he can play well, this can be a solid team. I do like Hunt, I like Layne, and I like the addition of Cross there as well. This is a team in Arkansas State, though, that you look, no App State on the schedule, no Coastal Carolina on the schedule, no Georgia State on the schedule, no Marshall on the schedule. So you avoid some of the bigger names in the Sun Belt Conference. However, you replace that with some really tough out-of-conference games, being on the road at Ohio State, a game in Columbus that I just don't think they're going to be able to win. Ohio State is way too talented. And then on the road against Memphis there as well. Kind of same thing, although they definitely have a better shot to beat Memphis than they do on the road in the shoe in Columbus. When you look elsewhere, Grambling, UMass probably should be 2 wins in non-conference play, I would imagine. And then when you get into conference play, yes, you don't have some of the bigger names in conference, although you still have to go on the road and play Louisiana, a game that's going to be pretty tough there. There are still teams on this schedule that are concerning for Arkansas State. On the road to Old Dominion, hey, that was a bowl game team a season ago, and a team that struggled at the beginning of the year really found their groove in Conference USA. Again, it's not Conference USA anymore, it's the Sun Belt, but going on the road to play Old Dominion, going to be a fairly interesting game there to kick off Sun Belt play for the Red Wolves in 2022. James Madison brings their challenges. That's usually a pretty good football team in the FCS realm. Now moving into the FBS, we'll see what they can do. Even on the road at Texas State, you're going to play former quarterback Layne Hatcher there. Layne Hatcher's going to have stuff on this mind, try to come away with a win there. Troy's no pushover as well. On the road at Southern Miss, that's a team that's going to push for a bowl spot. Same thing with South Alabama. So it is not the hardest Sun Belt schedule. In fact, it may very well prove to be one of the easier schedules in the Sun Belt Conference this year. But couple that with 2 pretty tough out-of-conference games, and you've got yourself quite the schedule ahead for Butch Jones and company. Now, I don't do game-by-game predictions. I do a more percentage-based Alec tell me predicted team's record. So if the game is in red, I don't see you winning the game. The game in Columbus against Ohio State, don't see you winning. Games in orange, I still don't see you winning, but it is college football and upsets can happen. Yellow, your 50-50 high upset potential games. Games in yellow-green are games that you should win, but you got to watch out for teams on the other side of the ball. In games in green, I see you winning. Should be able to beat Grambling and start off the season 1-0, gain a little bit of momentum before they go on the road in Columbus, and I think they're going to get smacked there. Probably could end up getting smacked on the road against Memphis there as well. However, there is a pretty good chance this Arkansas State team can start out 2-0. Now, I say pretty good chance in the fact that I don't like their chances to start 2-2, but it definitely would help them take that next step up. You can already equal your win total from a season ago, and there's only improving on from there. Again, I think they're going to have tough times against a lot of teams in the Sun Belt. Old Dominion, that's going to be a fairly interesting game. On the road against Southern Miss, on the road against Louisiana there as well. Two fairly tough games. At home against South Alabama. It's a South Alabama team that loses their best offensive player in Jalen Tolbert to the NFL, but that's still going to be a solid team in 2022, a team that can push for a spot in a bowl game. And Troy there as well. Troy, I think, is a much improved team, and a team that a lot of people are overlooking in Troy. And I really like what Troy brings to the table this year in Sun Belt play. But for Arkansas State, there are lots of winnable games on the schedule. UMass, definitely a very winnable game. UMass, never really a solid football team. However, this is a Arkansas State team that defensively allowed 261 yards per game on the ground. Well, you remember who's in UMass's backfield? Ellis Merriweather, 1,000-yard rusher from a season ago. They can't let him get going. Otherwise, UMass could make that game fairly close, but UMass doesn't really have much else. Arkansas State should be able to win that one there. And then, looking for some winnable games in conference play, Old Dominion, I do think is a winnable game. You got ULM, University of Louisiana Monroe, I think is a winnable game. James Madison, it's their transition year into FBS. Who knows what they're going to look like at the next level. And then on the road at Texas State is a very winnable game for this Red Wolves team as well. All in all, like I've said throughout this video, I do expect improvement for this Arkansas State team. Now, I do not believe that this Arkansas State team is going to be a bowl team or anything like that. And again, they avoid some of the bigger names in the Sun Belt, but couple that with a couple non-conference games. I got this team at 4-8 in 2022. I do see improvement. I do not see them having an abysmal season like they did last year. I think Butch Jones is going to have this team moving in the right direction this year. It's just not going to be enough to crack the postseason. 6-6, however, is that ceiling. I feel like if enough goes right, we can find this team playing in a bowl game in 2022. But I also see that floor being 2-10 if the wheels fall off the bus. That's going to do it for my video on the Red Wolves. I do have a little bit of improvement for this team at 4-8, but let me know what you guys think about them in the comments section below. And be sure to like, comment, subscribe, anything like that helps support the channel. And remember to play hard, but tailgate harder. I'll see all you guys in the next video. Goodbye.